Welcome to Time Up Kenya. This is Gloria Orwoba, and with us today we have Lone Felix, who is the current manager of resource mobilization for Agricultural Finance Corporation, and also an aspiring politician who ran for Senate for Busia. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. A very, very interesting profile that you have there.
Quite mixed up, I have to admit.
Journalism, to running youth programs, to joining government in the agricultural finance corporation, and politics, a little bit of politics. Where did all of this begin? When did you discover that you're a leader?
I'd probably attribute that to my upbringing at a very formative stages when you have to take responsibility. I think I left home at class 6. So I have made decisions for my life from then, from standard 6. And that has a spiral effect on my character.
Primary school? Which primary school did you go to?
I went to Namanse Roman Catholic. Somewhere in the interior of Bungoma.
Bungoma. And then high school?
I didn't go to a high school. I went to a secondary school.
Oh, sorry.
There is a difference.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
Yes. So I went to a secondary school. It's called Goseta Boys. It's in Trans Nzoia. An amazing opportunity that I was given there because I really didn't even have school fees. So the principal was kind enough to allow me to go through my entire high school without paying fees.
Wow.
And he was just an angel. So fortunately for me, I did well in my KCC and I was picked up by Equity Bank. So through the Equity Africa Leadership Program, again, I just honed my abilities a little further. In there, my peers elected me for my first role as the Secretary General for the Equity Africa Leadership Program.
The Secretary General for the Equity Africa Leadership Program.
Yeah.
And your peers elected because it was an elective position.
Yes, it is an
so
elective
you got
position.
the votes and
I did.
You were already mobilizing in that space.
And
right?
I think for the first time I figured out I can actually win an election. So that in itself again inspired me. What I was able to do there, becoming a voice of my peers, felt very interesting and very fulfilling. So eventually when I joined campus, I had the urge to say, can I translate this experience that I've had at Equity now
in the campus? Which campus, which university did you go to?
I went to Kenyatta University.
Kenyatta University. So tell me about your time at KU, because you were the president
of the Student Council,
Student Council at Kenyatta University, which is a big thing. Because I understand, so myself, I have not gone to a university, but I understand that the dynamics of getting elected as a student leader, it's like serious full campaign.
Oh, that was absolutely thrilling. So yes, we did go through campaigns. At that time, I think you had to campaign in about 7 satellite campuses. We had a student body of about 76,000 students. So
76,000 students.
Absolutely.
May I ask what your campaign platform, what was your messaging at the time when you were running that campaign? What were you promising those students? That they are going to have better meals, that they are going to...
Well, so...
What was your messaging?
I think I actually achieved quite a substantial bit of my campaign platform because it really revolved around affording my peers in college a bit of convenience. So there were issues around mode of fee payment. There were issues around students with special needs on campus. There are issues around those students who are in satellite campuses and needed a bit of movement here and there. But then you have to cap all of that.
And sell something
with flair and.
So you were like the fixer. You were like, I will solve all your problems. I am the fixer. All these small problems you're having here on fees and this and this and this.
No, so the way I view politics and political campaign is, I think other than priesthood, politics is the most sacred duty, at least in my own perspective, because people give you trust. So I don't like sensationalizing things. I'd prefer going with a platform that is reasonable and achievable. And it was actually very exciting because even though it is very difficult to sell it, eventually I did, and I won the election.
But what you've not told us what your messaging was. Like, what was the platform? What was it? You know, now we have
Yes.
our presidential candidates aspiring 2022. They're coming with messaging. You've seen we've had the Hustler Nation, which is really about empowering the youth economically.
Yeah.
And then we've had about a fresh start, which is Alfred Mutua's show on basically saying we are tired of dynasties and now we just want a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what Kivutha Kibwana's
Platform
messaging
is.
And you know, the Raila's is BBI. So I'm just trying to take
To
you there and figure out what your messaging was at that time.
I think so. At the core of every little initiative that I was saying, I was saying I want to afford you convenience, so that as a student, as you go through your academic life, you don't have to suffer the inconveniences that have plagued this path all along.
Yeah.
So looking at a student life in KU and saying, what can I do to make their life easier through as their representative. So that's why I say it around issues of can I make fee payment easier?
Yeah, easier.
Can we get buses and vans to transport people with special needs on campus? If you stay outside campus, can we work around a mode of transport?
Yeah.
Can we ease the access to higher education financing, for example? And then actually, the other thing was, for the 1 year that I was president in KU, and I'm glad I kept that promise, was I didn't want you to get out of school because there has been a strike or a demonstration.
Yeah. So you really had to ensure that there was that collaboration between the stakeholders from the student side and the administration and all that.
Yes.
It sounds like you had your ears on the ground and you knew the pain points and you saw the opportunities where you can come in and offer some sort of help. So I assume based on that and based on those experiences, and I mean, now that you knew better, that is what propelled you to say, you know, I am going to run for Senate for Busia.
Absolutely. Public office is an amazing opportunity to serve if you have the right people. And just being in KU and being able to achieve the little things we achieved, I developed a very strong conviction that actually getting into public office can be an avenue of doing good. And I carry that motivation even today, despite the fact that my senatorial bid was not successful.
But you know, they say if at first you don't succeed,
Yeah.
you try again and again. So I'm pretty sure that you're going for it.
Oh yes, at some point I will, absolutely. Because running for Senate was an entire experience in itself.
Yeah.
I grew up in rural Western, in my rural county of Busia. And, you know, by all standards, actually, I'd describe my family as poor, okay? But I really, and I probably carried that definition up to the point when I ran for office. And then you walk into villages and you find people, you know, 10 years beyond the time when you experienced extreme poverty, people still living worse.
So you think you're like the bottom of the food chain only for you to get into that space and realize that there are people who are far worse than where you are.
Absolutely. And so can something actually be done to give hope and uplift that person? I think it can be done.
And speaking of just the dynamics of our country and the different populations that we have and the problems we have in terms of poverty, in terms of things such as you know, we're trying to get to a place where we have the food security. And I assume when I look at your profile, you know, even being in this government agency, Agricultural Finance Corporation, I imagine that when you talk to me, some of your decisions have actually been made because you have been there, you've lived in that poverty, and you know what it means to, you know, come from a background like that. When you were running for Senate, Which party did you run, first of all?
I ran as an independent.
You ran
candidate.
as an independent. And so as an independent, what was the ideology that you were, what was, again, the campaign platform? What were you hoping to sell? What was your story?
Essentially, I said we can run an empowerment facet of this politics. We can focus on education, and the empowerment really, had I gotten the opportunity, I was only going to focus on agriculture because my county is a rural county. So I crafted quite a bit of my ideas around that as an empowerment platform. The second bit was education, because I think every opportunity I've had in life came because somebody believed in my ability to progress and gave me an opportunity to access education.
Do you think that getting into politics, because I assume that you're in this transition where as much as you are in corporate, in government, and in these other institutions and side hustles, I assume that there is a slow transition of you now getting into politics. Do you think that politics is that one pathway where you are sure you can have an impactful change?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned when we were starting, my profile is a little bit mixed up. I have quite a bit of footing in the private sector. So I sit on a board of a private company. And then currently I'm working for government.
You sit in the board of Saiton?
Yes. And then currently I'm working for government. And in addition to that, I have my own personal initiatives that I do around leadership empowerment of other young people.
Is this around the Enable Youth Kenya?
No, Enable Youth Kenya is a government project.
Okay.
But I have a project on the side called Imara Africa, where we bring on young people who have an interest in public policy, and then take them through a year of training. Now,
before you go on,
yes,
I'm very curious about Enable Youth Kenya being a government project and the mandate. I mean, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So Enable Youth is funded by the government of Kenya and the Africa Development Bank. So the essence is really to support youth who are interested in agri. So the government will be making substantial investments into agribusiness ideas to graduate them. So you will submit your proposals. Those proposals will be vetted by a private agency. Then when you are onboarded, you will be taken through an incubation period, and then you'll be financed to actually run the initiative. So the pilot phase, which I hope it's going to be launched pretty soon, because we are almost done with almost every preparatory things, including the bureaucracy of...
It's funny you're talking about bureaucracy. You're in government. You should understand the bureaucracy better than anybody.
I mean, systems do exist for certain reasons, but I think some of those things need to change over time. So we want to push quite as many young people as we can into that space, because the average age of a Kenyan farmer today is about 59 years old. And the average age of Kenya as a country is extremely low. That means that a lot of young people, who are the majority of the population, are not playing in this very critical space. So so the project is trying to address, how do you make it attractive? How do you make it attractive to young people?
To the young people. So back to, do you think that politics is the answer? Do you think that politics is the tool that you can use to have an impactful change, particularly in your community and also just with the young people? You talk about the poverty that you have seen when you were younger, the poverty that you have seen when you were vying for Senate in Busia, and you want to do something to change that. And so my question is, do you believe that politics is the way?
Look, I play my part at an individual level, in my private capacity as a citizen. And a lot of Kenyans do that. But the one sure thing I can tell you for a fact is that the day we get the leadership of our nation right, this country will change.
So let me ask you a very personal question. You seem like you're a guy who wants to empower youth. particularly so that they can be in sustainable careers and they can, have something to fend for themselves. So do you subscribe to this Hustler Nation movement?
No. I mean, first of all,
what do you think about it?
It's a convenient story. You see, the sad part about our country is that people don't want to think through solutions. We want to, every political cycle, politicians in this country depend on pumping up the emotions of the people. Because when you pump up emotions of the people with irrational stories like hustler this, hustler that, then nobody can ask you serious questions. If you pump up emotions of the people with tribe this versus tribe that, then nobody can ask you serious questions about what are you actually bringing on the table. Mm-hmm. Can we really say that structuring a political conversations around wheelbarrows, mm-hmm. okay, mm-hmm. will now push this country to the next level?
Well, the wheelbarrow is the tool or the symbol of small businesses. So I was asking because my understanding is that you're trying to build the small businesses and try to use that as a basis of the economic empowerment for the youth. So the wheelbarrow being a symbol of small businesses. You still don't think that, you think it's a fallacy? You think it's a...
The day that somebody will put a policy
on the table,
paper on the table,
yeah,
detailing how we translate this narrative, whatever it is, from the theory and the emotions that are there on social media, mm-hmm. to actually giving young people opportunity,
so
then we will listen to it.
A pragmatic manifesto.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the problems that face this country are real.
Yeah.
They are not, and they're not strange. Mm-hmm. They are problems you can actually look at, mm-hmm. and design a solution. One thing I know for a fact is that if we go through this election cycle with another basis of emotions, mm-hmm. okay, mm-hmm. we will elect a leader into office, but you will have no basis of holding them onto account. I think every political leader, mm-hmm. every person who holds an ambition, mm-hmm. okay, and the fact that the citizens' vote is going to help you realize your ambition. Mm-hmm. You owe that citizen a plan. You
execute.
Owe that citizen some truth, mm-hmm. okay? And unless this country can actually have an honest conversation about those very pragmatic solutions, we will still
be in the same cycle.
Extremely in the same cycle. Yeah. You will still elect a leader who gets to office.
Having said that, what is your take? Do you then think that BBI is the solution that you're talking about, the pragmatic solution?
Again, constitutional amendments and change of leadership structure and whatnot, that is good, okay? But it is really neither here nor there, mm-hmm. okay? Mm-hmm. The problem that this country faces is that a graduate today, okay, has to take 4 years before they get a proper job, okay? The problem that we face today is that the people we train in our vocational training institutions cannot be absorbed by the industry,
work.
Okay?
Yes, yes.
The problems that we are facing today is that we are food insecure, mm-hmm. okay? So you come with a pragmatic plan, mm-hmm. about how am I going to convert the deficit we have on maize and potatoes and milk, mm-hmm. to a place of security.
An actionable, yes.
Point B, how are we going to open up our rural economy? Point C, how are we going to make this nation cohesive and whatnot? Mm-hmm. And then I will look at that. But every other thing,
as at the moment, is not really addressing our pain points.
I don't think so.
It's touching on things that, yes, need to be talked about and Absolutely. A conversation should be had, but it's not really saying this is the solution and, we can measure it this way.
Countries don't happen. Okay?
They're built.
They have to be built. Economies don't just transform themselves.
Yeah.
We can't ever imagine that we will just by some autopilot mode of sorts get to where we want. And I think really our political class has to cut down the noise.
They have to cut down the noise,
and make it
more
concise
pragmatic.
and present plans to the people. And then from there we can have a political conversation about suitability of candidates, about what not. And then we elect a leadership that will move this country forward.
So you seem very knowledgeable on how to, at least from what I get right now, you seem very knowledgeable on how to translate those opportunities to prosper into actionable items. And you seem very knowledgeable on even just drafting a manifesto that can be realized once somebody gets into office. Are we expecting that in 2022, Lone Felix will run again for Senate or for MP or any elective office?
So in 2022, I'll not run for office. One of the reasons is because I've realized that I need to learn. And it actually informed part of the reasons why I went into the public sector.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to understand how government functions. So if one day, God willing, I get the responsibility of having a substantive role, then how do I translate my own beliefs and what I think is the right direction?
And do you think that is the problem, that we have a lot of youth, aspiring youth leaders who they literally aspire to be leaders, but they're not exposed to government systems and how these electoral seats can be used to have an impact. They're not really mentored, because you said that you ran last time in 2017, and then you realized actually you need to have some sort of experience on how government runs its business, because you believe that is what is going to help you once you run and get into office. Do you think that's something we are not looking at as a nation, on how to mentor or expose our aspiring youth leaders to this environment?
It is granted a problem, because we've seen quite a number of young people who get into elective offices and they cannot be as impactful. In part, it is also a function of our induction systems and how we support those who get into office, and including the structures we put together in them. And I think also what I'm learning is, politics and government and the actual exercise of power are two very different things. I honestly, I've met quite a number of members of parliament on these streets who are just as confused as it can get. So does it help to have an understanding of how systems run? Absolutely. Not with the intention of inheriting those systems, but even if you have to change something, you do what? You have to know what to change.
What to change. You have to know where you're coming from.
And even in my own interactions with the civil society, okay, because I have quite a bit of interest, what I keep telling people is that criticizing a politician and effecting change within government are two very different things.
Yes.
So you have to know that where I have this weapon, where am I targeting it, so that you are able then to transform the society to where we want it to be. So, however, my own perspective of how I want to approach leadership and politics is not the SI unit. There are young people who are extremely capable, who can vie and get into office and be effective. I personally feel at the point when I will now get into the race, there will be two things that will happen. Thing one, I will win the election. And then thing two, I'll be very effective as an office holder.
Yes. So you have a young lady, yes, I'm young. You have a young lady like me, wanting to run for office. I would like to run for women rep. What advice would you give me?
First thing, it's really possible. We create a lot of mystery around politics. That is not it. Politics is as basic as you offering yourself and telling your story to the candidates. And if, to the voters. And if those voters get convinced with that story, you can actually get into office. I learned a couple of things. So this is what I would tell you, okay? Don't run as if you will get 100% of the votes, okay? So you have to target the number of the votes that you require to win.
To win.
And then number two, if you're a candidate, every investment you make, every decision you take, every event you attend has to be pegged onto actually getting those votes. Because sometimes what I realized is sometimes you can actually run around, put in a lot of money, a lot of physical and emotional attachment to the race, but you haven't really gone down to understand who can vote for Gloria. Where is this person located? How do I make sure that this person turns out to vote? So you might have 1,001 agents, and then you get 10 votes.
Then you get 10 votes because they were not really targeting anyone specifically.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, it can be done, and it's a beautiful thing. We need the right-minded people getting into the public space and shaping the public discourse.
Thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate
I
it.
feel like I have at least gone through one class of Politics 101 with you.
Pleasure.
And for our viewers, you've heard what Felix has said. It is possible. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to be very specific on the people that you're targeting, your voters. You need to understand the guys on the ground. So if you're trying to run for women rep, understand who are you as a woman, and then what kind of women would want to vote for you, what kind of men would want to vote for you. Be very specific. And above and beyond all, also it's good to have exposure in what this office is, the kind of autonomy you have. Try and expose yourself to those environments, learn a little bit of something about how to run government entities, and yeah, just keep the spirit. Thank you so much. This is Gloria Orwoba, and you are watching Time Up. Follow us on our Twitter handle, on our YouTube, and subscribe. Make sure that you catch us next week.